So I am Ben Shelton. I'm the Political and Policy Director for Conservation Voters in New Mexico. I am joined today by Greg Peters, our Public Lands and Wildlife Advocate. Say hi, Greg.
Hey, everybody.
So the bill I want to talk about today, because I think it is going to be up next week, I anticipate seeing it in Senate Conservation, is Senate Bill 84, the Community Solar Act. Our sponsors on this one are Senator Liz Stefanik, who is also the chair of Senate Conservation, and Senator Linda Lopez are the two sponsors. This is not a new idea. We've run this bill a few times before. We haven't gotten it across the line yet. Our longtime sponsor on this has been Patricio Roybal Caballero in the House. This year, we're starting it on the Senate side. The community solar is a fairly basic concept. The idea is that if you're not able to afford to put solar panels on your roof, which most New Mexicans aren't, either because you can't afford it, because you live in an apartment building, because you rent your house, because your home doesn't have the kind of solar exposure that you need for solar panels, a way you can do this is you get together with a group of neighbors and you all purchase sort of a share of a solar project nearby. And then you basically get credited, the power that you consume is attributed to that solar project, and you get billed accordingly. What you need in order to make this happen are you need a utility that's going to interconnect that project and then bill you for the power. That's the big thing that you need. So our bill would basically do that. It would require utilities to take that power and deliver it to people and bill them accordingly. So this is, again, not a new concept. This is a bill we've run a few times before. It can get kind of technical and kind of complicated. Anytime that you're talking about anything regulating utilities, anything with renewable energy, the power grid, it gets really technical and gets really jargony really quickly, which makes it difficult to pass these kinds of bills. Because a lot of these legislatures, we have a citizen legislature, and it's a strength and a weakness. And part of the, one of the challenges of it is we have to find a way to translate these sort of like technical, legal, weird concepts from utility regulation into just regular, like into verbiage that folks can understand, so we can kind of convince people this is a good idea. The way this bill is a little different this year is that we have gone through an interim committee or an interim sort of work process. At the end of the 2020 session, way back in January and February of 2020, before COVID, when we were all young and optimistic, we passed a memorial called Senate Memorial 63 that designated a work group that would get together and basically convene a bunch of stakeholders and talk about some of the core issues to implementing community solar. And we did that, and it was very, very successful. We met every 2 weeks. We had like 50 to as many as 90 at a couple different meetings, attendees, which is a lot. It's a lot of people to get down and get into the weeds of working on legislation. We weren't actually drafting the bill, but mostly we were just unpacking issues, trying to find good policy solutions to some of the disagreements that had held the bill up in the past. So we did it. It was a really great process, led by Senator Stefanik and Representative Roybal Caballero, and we are now at a point where we've got a draft that reflects a lot of that work. So that's a little bit of a different twist on it this year. Is that we've kind of got the weight of this working group process, and all these meetings and all this sort of buy-in and hours of investment from different folks have gone into this bill. The other thing that's a little bit different about this bill is it's a little shorter. We've continued to sort of trim some of the language out of the bill that was kind of tripping up legislators, things that we felt were kind of necessary to guide the PRC. We have less direct guidance for the PRC in this year's version of the bill. It's a little bit more of kind of opening the book and letting the PRC write in it, right? So the Public Regulation Commission, that's what I mean when I say PRC, the Public Regulation Commission, who is the main regulator of our utilities and will be implementing the community solar bill if we get it passed this year, we'll have a lot broader latitude to just figure out the details of how the program hits the ground. It's an important bill, I think, because it has a lot of equity components. A lot of people in New Mexico can't afford solar panels, and they want to be part of this kind of renewable energy revolution that is sweeping the country, but certainly the state. New Mexico is in the position where we are quickly coming to the front of the pack in terms of adding renewable energy to our system, not only for consumption by New Mexicans inside the state through our sort of electric grid, but we're also becoming a much larger exporter of renewable energy because we have such great potential here. The eastern part of our state has amazing wind potential, and we all get a lot of sun. I mean, that's a settled point at this point. So this is something that we can and increasingly are going to be exporting. to the region. So that's an exciting development. This is something that we are past due on, and we're slowly moving thanks to the Energy Transition Act that was passed in 2019 and other factors. We are moving to the front of the pack on this. And I think everybody in New Mexico deserves a crack at it. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to get this done. Senate Bill 84. There's a House companion called House Bill 106. And either or both of those are going to be moving and should be passed, and hopefully should pass. So please, reach out to your legislators and let them know how you'd like to see them vote on Senate Bill 84. Your state senators are the first one who are going to have a crack at this. So with that, I think I would like to kick it over to Greg to talk to you about another very interesting piece of legislation that you should be seeing this week.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Another interesting piece of legislation that we're really excited about that will be beginning on the other side of the building. So I'm here to talk about HB 51, the Environmental Database Act. We've been working on that this past year with our friends over at Audubon Southwest, and we have our sponsors lined up with Representatives Gail Chasey and Senator Mimi Stewart. So in a nutshell, the idea behind the Environmental Database Act is to create a map-based searchable database that will house data from the 7 state environmental agencies here in New Mexico, hosted by UNM's Natural Heritage New Mexico Conservation Information System. So the goal here is to help the public understand what's going on in their neighborhoods and what's going on public lands throughout this state. Also to help agencies make better decisions and help industries as they continue to navigate the state permitting processes. So the database, first and foremost, will be free and accessible to the public. This will increase transparency with state agencies and will include the following and more. So not limited to, but locations of active oil and gas wells, locations of state parks, threatened and endangered species information, locations of impaired waters, locations of utility scale solar and wind projects on state land, rare plant data, public health data, you name it. And each of the 7 agencies are to supply this data on varying aspects of the above relating to those agencies. No agency department is asked to disclose any type of confidential information, nor disclose any archaeological or sensitive cultural data without permission from relevant pueblos and tribes. I want to make sure that that's emphasized. And because this database infrastructure already exists in New Mexico, the cost is going to be minimal and can be easily incorporated into the UNM budget, which is especially important during this legislative session in which anything carrying an appropriation will be carefully scrutinized. This database is going to allow agencies, industry, and the public to easily zoom in on an area through a GIS framework and know the status by just drawing a polygon on that area right away, allowing you to understand what the potential impacts of any kind of development might be, rather than having to comb through 7 different agency websites and compile that data on your own. So it's going to be introduced on Tuesday in the House Energy and Natural Resources Committee. We'll be there to testify on behalf in support of this bill. And we encourage folks to participate in that process virtually if you feel strongly about it. You can join the webcast through the NM Legislative website, or you can look at the agenda for the Energy and House Natural Resources Committee and sign up to testify yourself. So again, that'll be coming on Tuesday morning.